Hello and welcome to Buddhist Global's weekly news highlight. I'm Dr. Justin Whitaker, Senior Correspondent for BDG. As we are continuing to develop these weekly news highlights, please click subscribe and the thumbs up button if you enjoy them, and offer us your feedback in the comments below. And as always, be sure to check out our website, buddhistdoor.net, for more on this story, as well as other news and features about Buddhism around the world. This week, we highlight the news that the Buddhist Kingdom of Bhutan has received its first free COVID-19 vaccines from India. The Himalayan Kingdom of Bhutan earlier this month became the first country to receive a free shipment of COVID-19 vaccines as part of India's ongoing vaccine diplomacy efforts, receiving a consignment of about 150,000 doses on January 20th of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine from India's domestic production. Ministry of External Affairs spokesman Anurag Shrivastava announced the move on social media, noting that India has begun to supply COVID vaccines to its neighboring and key partner countries. India, which has a long-established vaccine industry, including the Serum Institute of India, one of the world's largest vaccine makers, cemented a partnership agreement early in the pandemic to produce the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine domestically under its license, using the brand name Covishield. Earlier this month, India reported that it had already stockpiled some 80 million doses, a proportion of which will be contributed to the World Health Organization-backed COVAX initiative to distribute vaccines to less prosperous countries. Under its distribution program, hashtag Vaccine Maitri, India is also delivering millions of free vaccines to Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Brazil, the Maldives, Mauritius, Morocco, Myanmar, Nepal, the Seychelles, and Sri Lanka. Despite hesitancy from some segments of society, many countries are working to roll out vaccination programs as quickly as possible, while others are taking a more measured approach in the hope of seeing more definitive vaccine data. Bhutan's Prime Minister, Dr. Lotay Tshering, has said that the kingdom will wait until it has accumulated a sufficient doses to vaccinate all 533,000 eligible citizens at the same time. The government subsequently decided to offer early doses to Bhutanese who need to travel overseas and may therefore be unable to receive the vaccine during the national rollout. The government has decided that the national vaccination program will begin on an auspicious day, noting that the month that runs from February 14th to March 13th would give Bhutan an opportunity to observe any potential adverse outcomes from the vaccine around the world. Dr. Tshering also stated that he will be among the first recipients of the COVID-19 vaccine in Bhutan. Bhutan was quick to adopt a comprehensive, evidence-based tracing and testing regime soon after the SARS-CoV-2 novel coronavirus began spreading around the world, putting in place strict border controls and a 3-week quarantine procedure for all returnees to avoid overloading its healthcare system. The coordinated response has been bolstered by Bhutan's traditional communal values, in which all levels of society, including the royal family, have acted in concert to observe social distancing and support other response measures, and the country's free universal healthcare system, a key aspect of the kingdom's gross national happiness philosophy. At Buddhist Global, we have been closely watching the emergence of the novel coronavirus, as its apparent city of origin, Wuhan, is only a few hundred kilometers from our offices in Hong Kong. Like many, we were astonished by the swift and lengthy lockdown of the city, along with what seemed to be a victory over the virus across mainland China. Meanwhile, we watched the uneven responses by countries around the world, noting early that many Asian nations where face masks have long been acceptable and even commonplace have had some measure of success in keeping infection numbers low. Meanwhile, outside of Asia, first in Iran, then Italy, and then cities in the United States, the virus seemed to go from an isolated foothold to at times overwhelming case numbers. The small country of Bhutan, which has only 760,000 people, has been both diligent and very fortunate with regard to the coronavirus, seeing only 897 cases in total and a single death, the lowest numbers in South Asia. Along the way, Buddhist Global has brought you coverage of Bhutan's efforts to contain the virus, In March, we saw as the kingdom's sole COVID-19 case, an American tourist, was evacuated to the United States, leaving the nation free of the coronavirus. By then, the country had closed its borders in an effort, largely successful, to stem the spread of the disease. Nonetheless, cases did rise, often through Bhutanese students and others who had traveled abroad, and in August, the country ordered its first national lockdown, with just 113 total cases. Then, late in December, case numbers began to rise, reaching over 50 in a day before coming back down in early January, which is when the country recorded its first death from COVID-19. Bhutan, as many know, has long been lauded for its efforts to redefine progress with its emphasis on gross national happiness instead of gross national product. The country, following Buddhist values, makes human flourishing and happiness part of its goals and planning for the future. Our senior editor, Craig Lewis, has visited Bhutan and written about its Buddhist culture and values, as well as its role as an example of environmental stewardship for the rest of the world. As Lewis wrote in 2018, the kingdom's high level of forest cover, about 72%, means that not only has Bhutan met its pledge to remain carbon neutral, it has become one of the Earth's rare but essential carbon sinks, with its forests absorbing more carbon dioxide than the country produces. Lewis continues, "It is also the world's last remaining Vajrayana Buddhist nation. The spiritual tradition is embedded in the very consciousness and culture of this remote land, where it has flourished with an unbroken history that dates back to its introduction from Tibet by the 8th century master Padmasambhava, also known as Guru Rinpoche. As a result, sustainability has become a part of Bhutan's national identity." As the world continues its struggle with coronavirus, Bhutan stands out as a success story. With help from the vaccines from its neighbor India, it may in the end be among the countries with the fewest cases and deaths per capita. It's quite possible that this very history of sustainability helped protect the people of Bhutan and can serve as a guide for other people and countries as we hopefully emerge from the pandemic in 2021 and look forward to meeting collective environmental as well as health and spiritual goals. Be sure to check below this video for a link to our full coronavirus roundup, which includes features, news articles, and blog posts documenting Buddhists around the world as they've responded to the global coronavirus pandemic.